what happened to Chance the Rapper's big day, small debut? Chance the Rapper was going on a killing spree with 10-day acid rap and coloring book. Let me remind you, in 2016, Chance was selling out arenas on Christian rap music, doing numbers, making M's with the number 3 on his hat. So we gotta put some respect on Chance the Rapper, and not just respect, but appreciation. So this was off a series of mixtapes. So when it came time for his debut album, The Big Day, the cover art having the shiny disc looking like Jesus just sneezed on it and made it glow, we were expecting big things. We were expecting some great quality as well. Now, on August 4th, 2019, The Big Day debuted at the number 2 spot on the Billboard 200 with 108,000 first week, 27,000 of which were pure album sales. However, he lost out that number 1 spot. I believe, what was it? Shawn Mendes or NF, one of them two. Somebody please let me know down below. But with this, numbers are okay. With Chance, we probably expected 150, 200,000 first weeks. But let's get into the actual music, the stuff with the substance. Now, this album, The Big Day, has 22 songs, and the production throughout the album is just lackluster. Any of that jazz influence we've seen on acid rap is rarely ever seen on here. Any of those nice, enriching gospel orchestras that we've seen throughout Coloring Book just sort of disappear. And even some of the clever wordplay, some of the more fun stylistic rhyme schemes we get on 10-Day, especially on acid rap, is almost non-existent. And to a certain extent, this feels like a heavily stripped back coloring book, but then you throw it in the trash can and light it on fire. All right, it ain't that crazy. But seeing as how it's gonna be 4 years since this album dropped. Let's go down through the track list. All Day Long with John Legend was a pleasant intro, felt a little bit more, it could have been a bit more grand. But one thing that I would have loved for Chance on The Big Day is just to, go crazy with the raps. Go crazy with the raps. I would have loved that. Going on from there to Do You Remember, it was just sort of like, I felt a bit like that energy wasn't there. And here we are in the future, I still feel the same way. Eternal with Smino was a solid track. Hot Shower with Made in Tokyo and The Baby. This was a track that I loved, everybody hated. And here we are 4 years later, and I'm like, I get why y'all hated this track. We go high, very self-reflective, introspective love. I believe the music video that went along with this. And these are one of the bits of The Big Day that I wish Chance just capitalized on a bit. I Got You was forgettable. I really can't remember it. Photo Ops is a skit. Rue with Taylor Bennett is ridiculous. Both of them just, talking about being the man of the house, having to grow up, that brotherly dynamic, having to grow up in Chicago, and just this bond between each other. It's just chef's kiss, something I would have loved to see both of them capitalize maybe more in this album, maybe in more collaborations. And this track has no reason to go as hard as it did. Taylor Bennett spazzed. Taylor Bennett stole the show. This right here, Rue, Taylor Bennett's verse is the best verses we get in this entire album. Now, we're gonna speed through a lot of this. I mean, we got tracks like Handsome with Meg that just weren't that good. Big Fish with Gucci could have been better. Ballin' Flaws and Shawn Mendes. Listen, I have a very crazy guilty pleasure with this song whenever it comes to that peanut butter line. And I just started sort of rocking with it. I'm like, oh yeah, peanut butter jelly with whatever inside. It's goofy, makes no sense, but I love it. And everything else from 4 Quarters, Get a Bag with Cowboy, it's just lackluster. Slide Around with Lil Durk and Nicki Minaj felt like a nice nice single, and everything else was forgettable. Now, how has this album aged as a whole? Poorly. A lot of the production on this album just falls flat in comparison to what we have received before. As far as some of the themes, there's a large lack of fun on here, a lack of rhyme schemes, heavy emphasis on, of course, his loving relationship, and at certain times, certain reflective points, but everything else just feels pretty bare to a certain extent. There is a sense of appreciation on here, and towards that gospel aspect, you could sort of feel like a bit of that Christian sparkle in there, some of that God sparkle in here, but compared to the cover art, how we were expecting this to shine, it just did not follow through. With that, The Big Day was commercially and quality-wise a very significant drop for Chance the Rapper. Now, since then, Chance, of course, has been dropping Chance music, which has been phenomenal. And with that, I want to ask you guys, how have you felt about the big day? How do you feel about the quality? How do you feel how it has aged over the past 4 years? Any highlights for you? Anything that sticks out? Anything that you wish you could have capitalized more on? And this is an album that, unfortunately, I want to pretend never entered his discography.